Hey guys, Brockshield here. Starting off this video in SM Library where Denarius is getting his Scarlet Key. I'll be using this Scarlet Key in order to open the doors for the second pull in SM Armory. As you can see here, within the training grounds, the initial pull is quite simple. Round up all of the mobs in either fashion. This time I'm choosing to go counterclockwise. The hardest part about these pulls for me is the alt-tabbing to Denarius to bring him up to follow while keeping him out of range of combat. It's much more difficult than SM Cathedral, for example, where that pull Denarius barely has to move after the initial pull has begun. Here you see I switch over and then numlock walk him straight to that wall. I'll switch back, at which point I want to try and pull all of these mobs while making sure that Brockshield stays up. This part of the pull is a little bit more difficult than the first pull of SM Cath because there are no ledges to heal off of, no waterfall, so you just want to make sure you're watching your health and making sure you're okay. One benefit of these runs though is I don't use any consumables, which is nice. Here you can see I use Blessing of Protection along with Force Reactive Disc in order to try and bring these mobs down as quick as possible. I use Blessing of Protection once again, just like the first pull in SM Cath, in order to save time to ensure that I can use Divine Shield on the second pull. There isn't really that much of a difference here, but what you do get is the flexibility if your Divine Shield is up. I could use Brockshield to open the doors on the second pull if Denarius is a little farther back and not able to make it in time. So there are protectors in these runs which do healing damage. But as you've seen if you've been following my videos, my gear is attuned to spell damage, so Brockshield is churning out a tremendous amount of AoE between his Tier 2 Mage Blade Force Reactive Disc, and Denarius is also able to use his Hurricane rank 2, and then you'll see a follow-up Hurricane rank 1 to clean up the mobs as quickly as possible. This pull, while it is slightly less gold than Scarlet Monastery Cathedral's first pull, is done much quicker. So if you're in a range where you're not completing these dungeons as quickly as you see here, Armory might not be a bad option for you because you could still do 5 runs of Armory, whereas Cath might be taking a bit more time because those mobs do tend to hit harder after you bring them back. So you'll want to test your own limits and see how far you can push the dungeon runs when you run yourself. You see we skip the loot here and we move to the second pull. So here is where it gets a little bit more difficult with the alt-tabbing with Denarius. If you have a party, you want to make sure they follow you, but that they're not too close. So definitely be mindful, because the number one thing I'm prioritizing here, you see me stop there, is for Denarius to not get aggro. Because you're going to want your party in the same hallway as you when you bubble if you want them to open the door. That depends on the level of your tune, your gear, etc. For me, I realized that I could open the door myself right here. If I bubble, open the door, and then drop down and heal myself, I'm not really losing anything in the long run. But to make it more realistic for a freshly geared 60, you're going to want to use this time to damage the mobs. You're not going to have as much mana or spell power as you see here, so this is a much more realistic scenario. Have your party open the door, then have them go a little further to the side than I bring Denarius here. I'm not so worried, not only because Brockshield can solo the rest from here, but also because Denarius is level 51, so his aggro radius is much smaller than your party members, who will be a lower level looking to get experience from these pulls. Don't worry about Blades of Light from Herod unless you're a little under-leveled while you're doing this, for example around level 50 with fresh gear. While he does hit with Blades of Light, at the same time, if your gear is strong enough, don't worry about it. It actually, in many ways, if the attack is blockable, I see so many Force Reactive Disc goes off when he starts using the ability that it makes me think that it might not even be a bad idea just to stand in there and see if you can block more to output more damage if and only if you have Force Reactive Disc. Otherwise, there's not really a reason to do it. All in all, the loot from SM Armory is very strong. It's the only reason I would not run this dungeon other than to help the melee classes get their gear from here is simply because I can do SM Cathedral in nearly the same amount of time in the same amount of pulls. And that's just a slightly better version of this dungeon in terms of loot. And I also aesthetically like it more, as that courtyard area is just so beautiful, as well as the cathedral. It's really all well done. Additionally, the pull with Mograine is just much easier to execute than what you see here. Another improvement I want to mention is I realized that I should just stealth Denarius up using Sprint, Stealth, and Dash, bring him over to the corner and SM Cath, and that completely eliminates the variable of me even having to move him once the pull starts. So the pulls have been really smooth, to the point where, no exaggeration, I've had nights where I do 15 to 20 SM Cath runs without a single death. So it's really become second nature for me in there, so I enjoy it very much. All in all here, just be mindful of the trainees. Make sure that you bring your party around you so that when you do your AoE, whatever class you are, the other mobs don't run to your party, they run to you, and then your party, they're wiped out around your party. And of course, you get a chance at the Scarlet Tabard for cosmetic purposes. So with that, this was 2 pull of SM Armory. Now here, I want to start by saying thank you to the guild Unchained on the Bloodsail Buccaneer server. This guild selflessly, out of the kindness of their hearts, with their own time, their own soul shards, and for no reward. You see, Denarius here just got summoned, and he has no flight paths. I leveled my alts manually from 0 through 10, and after that did nothing but power level them. So that means they have no flight paths, and when I want to bring Denarius over to Razorfin Downs, for example, or Oldemon, for example, or Mara or ZF, I had no flight paths. And so I realized there was no way I was going to be able to consistently show those dungeons if I couldn't bring Denarius to those locations independently of Brockshield helping him with summons, etc. So you see here, this guild Unchained summons us from location to location. They do this twice a week, once with Eastern Kingdoms and the other time with Kalimdor. You see Kalimdor here. So I really want to say thank you to them because they have helped me a tremendous amount. With that, I want to say light be with you all. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as more videos will be coming out in the future, and it greatly helps the channel. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you to everyone in Elegance, Bloodsail Buccaneer server, and thank you here to the Unchained guild as well. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.